Hi, welcome back to another CSRM podcast. And today, I'm so excited. I've got two folks that are going to join us today and help you in your sports ministry, rec ministry, fitness ministry at your church, figure out how to integrate other ministries in the church together with your sports outreach for the best and most impactful influence in your community. So you can really go reach those people far from Jesus and His church and integrate them not just into your sports ministry, but into the church as a whole, and obviously become disciples of Jesus Christ. So, we're here with two seasoned veterans of this field. Tammy Forsythe has been a children's pastor, we think, going on 2 decades, right?
That sounds really long, yes.
And well experienced and doing great work. And Paul Johnson has been doing it at least that long within the sports ministry of the church, and you've moved into some other roles. So what's your official title now, Paul?
I'm the pastor of senior adults and pastoral care and visitation.
But you had 15 or 20 years within the sports and rec?
Right. I was a youth sports director for 22 years.
Yeah.
So we did sports and adults as well, but I mainly focused on the kids.
And so the two of you are serving at First Friends Church in Canton, Ohio, and you have been compatriots, offices down the hall from one another. But a few years ago, you said, we got to have this integration occur between these two ministries. And Paul, I'm going to let you start with that, and just you envision this. You went to Tammy, and then we'll pick up what Tammy thought and what she's doing. But why did you go there? Why did you go to her?
Because I felt like she wasn't doing anything. She was bored. No. Actually, that's not true. But
thank you.
But we were reaching kids, and I knew that if we did get kids to come to our church on Sunday morning for a Sunday school class or for a Wednesday night activity, she was the face of what was going on. And so what better way to involve her in, at least in a small way, because she just does one program, but that's all she, it's a lot of time involved. So we got her involved in the youngest area, which is our clinic, and so she would give the devotional for those younger kids, which is a challenge. I mean, of all the ones to give devotionals to, the youngest kids, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, are maybe the most challenging, because their attention span is like this. So, and she knows what she's doing. I mean, I'm a grandfather, so how I keep their attention, I just give them candy. but sometimes that works in devotionals, and sometimes, but we want to share the gospel. So.
And so you saw her as an expert, experience, wisdom at knowing that age group and knowing their spiritual maturation process and psychological, emotional, whatever. And she would know how to do specifically targeted spiritual outreach.
Right.
You were an expert in maybe the physiological maturation of the child. That's where the sports came in. But she was on the other side of it, and you could match your expertises. Now, before I turn to Tammy, what ages are we talking about? We're talking about 5 to 10-year-olds, first, second grade, kindergarten?
Kindergarten, first grade for basketball, and then she does volleyball as well. And that's first and second grade? Second and third grade? Second and third grade. Girls.
So, and that's where your forte is, because your children's pastor starts where, and where does it end age-wise?
The children's department starts with infant, clear through going into fifth grade.
And you're responsible for all of that.
I'm over all of that, and then I specifically work with the preschoolers, which would be the 3-year-olds through kindergarten.
Okay. So when he came to you with this idea,
Yes.
Tammy, were you like freaked out, or what were you thinking?
Actually, I think I said yes right away. I'm pretty sure I did. Only because I just had that sense, I felt like I was supposed to do it, that this was something the Lord wanted me to do. And so I didn't hesitate. I said, sure, I'll do that.
And you saw the wisdom of it.
I do.
Now, before we get into the particulars of this, and I want to tell all of you that are listening or watching this, that this is the first of a series of podcasts in this training series that we're bringing to you on how to integrate these two particular ministries of any church. And there are going to be other times in which Tammy and I sit and talk about how she envisions what she does, plans it, and then also how she actually does it is being recorded. It's actually like in the gym area with these kids that are coming in, parents, grandparents, and we're actually going to show you how Tammy actually does what she talks about that she does, and how this vision that these two had is actually lived out. So make sure that you get all of the video series. It'll really help you. So now Tammy, let's set the stage here just a little bit. Were you an athlete growing up? Do you have an athletic background?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, I could do things.
Okay.
But I didn't play on any athletic team.
But you kind of got it from a father
Yeah.
and from a family that you married into?
Yes.
They
were all very athletic.
Okay.
You know, Labor Day weekend
Yeah,
tournaments. I would
sure.
be in the stands cheering all day long while they
Okay.
were out on the court,
softball
field playing. Yeah. So, I mean, I had some, but I preferred
Yeah.
the musical stuff on
Okay.
the other side.
But you kind of understood it, and you also
Sure.
understood it because in this church that you're part of, the sports outreach is just part of the DNA of the entire
Right,
church.
right.
And so you all have had a rich history, 65 some years, right, Paul? And you've been part of every one of those, correct?
Seems like it.
and that this ministry has been ongoing, so it kind of permeates. So you kind of got it. All right.
Sure.
So now what you do on a Saturday morning or afternoon, Tuesday evening, Monday evening, whatever, is it's set in the gym, and it's one station.
Correct.
Explain the stations to us and your role in that.
Well, they have 5 stations, I know, on Saturday. So each station is something different, a different skill that they're going to work on. And then when they come to my station, they come in the room, and that's where I do it. So I only have 2 teams at a time.
Okay.
And they sit on the floor, I sit on the floor with them, and then we do whatever the lesson is about.
So these stations include what, Paul? They're out on the court doing what?
Yeah, particular skills that are broken down for particular games. You know, for basketball, it might be footwork, dribbling, ball handling. You know, young kids can't catch the ball. So it's hard to play a game when you can't catch the ball. So that's one of the skills. And it hits them in the nose once in a while, and we deal with that. We send them to Tammy.
I hear about it. They tell me.
Yes.
I got hit in the head.
So a lot of patience and the coaching, and we coach the coaches up on what skills we're going to be doing to help them understand. So it's a great way for the kids to learn, but also the coaches are just parents, and so the parents are going around with the kids, and they get to hear Tammy's message as well as they rotate into her room to hear the message. So
about every 10 minutes, the clock goes off, the horn goes off.
Yes.
The kids rotate to these. We know that you don't teach the defense station. You teach
No.
the shooting one, and Paul was a great shooter, still is.
we have a donut station.
You have a
I
donut
teach that
and
one.
you
Yeah.
teach the donut station.
Yeah.
But then they all rotate through, and Tammy, you said you're kind of down on the floor with them.
Yes.
Explain just a little bit about what you do.
Well, they'll come into me, and I sit on the floor with them, and I tell them what we're going to talk about. I don't ever tell them specifically what it is. For example, this last week I just said we're going to talk about something that we all use. Some of us use more than others, and it's our words. And then I said, you know, I use a lot of them because I like to talk. And so then we talked about the impact our words have, and then I usually have a little object lesson that goes with the lesson.
You have to watch the videos because she always uses mystery. She has a treasure chest, and we don't know what's in the treasure chest, so I go in there just to find out.
You never know.
You never know what's in there.
Hoping that it's a donut.
Well, yeah. This week it was candy.
It was
So
candy this week.
all right,
It was
yes.
Pez candy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of how that happens. Let's back up a couple steps. Because I think the vision or the goal was to better reach those that are far from Jesus, far from his church, far from being a disciple, And Paul, speak to this a little bit. You found that there was a little bit of a lack there. And we talk about, I'm going to take this moment for an advertisement for our Overwhelming Victory Press. These videos are from Overwhelming Victory Flicks, and they go together with our publishing house. And the book that just came out this last year talked about that there were two disconnects, getting people from the community into the sports. That's the first disconnect. We got to bridge that somehow. And then once they're in that sports arena, the second disconnect is getting them from there into the sanctuary and the body life of the church and the full discipleship. I think you have been feeling, Paul, for a while that the sports ministry often does a pretty good job of getting them from the community into this, but then how do we take them from this, being the sport, into their faith? And is this part of what you were thinking about, and how does the whole church fit into that?
I think initially the disconnect isn't getting people from the sports into our church. I think the real disconnect, the challenge of making a connection, is getting people from our church into the sports. That's the real disconnect.
So you're not disagreeing with that there's a disconnect.
Oh, no.
But you're saying we need to build the bridge from the... It's almost like these people might even be willing, but we've got to get the church to build the bridge.
They're not going to build a bridge. They don't understand the need to build the bridge.
Good point.
We understand the need, but we don't build the bridge,
Right.
because we have to be intentional in getting people from the sports into our church, so we need to build the bridge for them. How do we do that? Well, one way is to bring leadership from our church so that they see their faces, they see their who they are, they hear their message, they meet them, they put a face to our church. Not just my face, because that's not appealing, right? But her
Better
face
than
is
mine.
much more
Yeah,
appealing.
yeah, you're
And
obviously.
you know, like our senior pastor, our youth people, you know, our middle school, high school children. It's really important, and we're not doing it well. This is just a small area. We're just scratching the surface. There has to be a willingness for the church to build that bridge, and we've had a sports ministry for 65 years, and we still haven't figured it out. I mean, it's challenging.
Take heart, those of you that are just beginning, and
Exactly.
learn from some of our mistakes, and be challenged from what we're trying to communicate to you.
Because the tendency is that they just let the sports do their thing, and that's all the further it goes from involvement of the rest of the church body, members, other staff members. So that's the challenge of involvement and understanding that when Jesus said, "Look, the fields are ripe. Send workers into the field." He was talking about our sports ministry, is what he's talking about. Because the fields are ripe, we need to send our workers into the field to reap that harvest. And it's right there waiting for us.
Now, I know there's a phrase that's thrown around a bit here at the church that talks about that unless disciple making is intentional, it's accidental at best. And I think you're describing that some of those people that were in that sports arena, they might find their way. Some of them that are truly seeking might push that.
Oh, we invite, and we do lots of things. We try to build bridges the best we can, and we are effective in some ways. I mean, you've been at our church here for a long time. You were sports director here. You know that a lot of the people in our church have come from our sports.
Yes.
It could have been so much better had we figured this other part out. But I think what we're doing is bearing fruit. But there's gleanings left in the field that we could get.
What's your perspective on that? From the children's side of it, how do you see that?
Getting them to come?
That disconnect and how we're doing and what we need to do.
Well, we always invite them. And on the last week of the clinic, we have a festival day. And so I always talk to the parents and the kids together at that point. And I end with inviting them to church. And I tell them, I know some of you attend other churches. I'm not talking to you, but we want them to all know that they are more than welcome to come. And I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and we were talking about doing things in the bleachers with the parents. And I said, well, the thing with that is, I don't know that it would work, because the parents that are coming to watch their little guy out there on the basketball court. They don't really want to talk to anybody about Jesus or church or anything else, because they're watching their kid, because that's really important. But what I have seen is that when somebody goes through a hard time or has a crisis that had participated in our clinics, they remember us. Because I've seen people then come back or call, I used to do sports there. I'm having a really hard time. Could I get some direction? Or they start coming back. So there is that.
Very good.
I think we're trying.
All right, we're winding down on this segment. We're down to our last couple minutes. And then we're going to revisit this in a second segment. So those of you that are listening or watching this, we're going to come back to this. And if you're listening to this, go to the CSRM website and try to get the information. Those of you that are watching it, the graphics will come up on the screen for you about how to contact these folks, how to contact this church, how to contact different people and get some of these resources. So know that we're trying to produce all these things for you and have them be accessible. But I think what we're coming to here is that we've got a good start. We've got some good things. You guys have some great practices. Future segments of this particular series, Tammy's going to be helping us with. But on our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about what it means to change the way the church itself and the church leadership looks at how to do this, and how we need to, some of those principles for which we can partner a little bit more on to make this even more effective, and what we need to do because of what you said, Tammy, right there at the end, was that we get people in, and today they're not ready. But we have to build the relationship, and as we say, we are winning the right to be heard. And we have to build those relationships so that we can be heard. We proclaim the gospel with our life and how we do it, what we do in our sports, what we do in our children's ministries, and then we get a chance to affirm with our words what we're actually doing. We'll kind of end on this one with saying that very seldom will someone come into your particular sports, rec, or fitness ministry and actually remember what the score of the game was. They might remember if they won a league, but they'll be even cloudy on what year it was. But they'll never forget how they felt. They'll never forget how they were treated. They'll never forget the atmosphere. And that's what I hear you guys saying. Tammy, anything before we end this segment? Paul?
I just know that when I go out into the community, having done this for 26 years, I recognize people all over the place.
Yeah.
Relationships are the thing that build
Yes.
the right to be invitational, and the right to be effective is by being willing to build relationships. And when you go someplace and you know someone there all the time, that's a good feeling, but also a good feeling to know that I have the opportunity to be influential in somebody's life. We got to continue to do that.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And both of you really have been. And there are people in the kingdom because of you, and we appreciate who you are and what you've done and your faithfulness. All right, so we're going to wrap this segment up. Don't miss the next one. We're going to come right back and we're going to delve into this even more to help you be able to develop your sports, rec, fitness ministries and integrate them with other ministries within the church so that the end result is dedicated, lifelong disciples. Remember, we are called to go and make disciples and teach them all that Jesus taught us. It's not just the going, it's also the winning and the building. So come back and learn more about that next time. Tammy and Paul, thank you for this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.